Welcome back to the second explainer in our 10-part series. We are taking machine learning concepts and translating them straight into plain IT vernacular. Just as a quick reminder, this series covers the 30 common terms used in machine learning using easy-to-understand examples for IT professionals. It's brought to you by Virtualization Options LLC, a Colorado-based technology research education and advisory organization. Today, we're strictly focusing on Chapter 2 of the guide, which means we are looking entirely at data terminology. No repeating the basics from last time. Let's jump right in. Here is a quick look at our agenda for today as we dive into this foundational data layer. We'll start with data fundamentals, move into data sets and storage, look at features as columns, talk about feature engineering, and wrap up with data augmentation. All right, Section 1. Welcome to Data Fundamentals, the absolute ground floor of ML. And that takes us right into Section 2, Datasets and Storage Formats, which you can basically think of as the container. So, to kick things off, we've got to look at the bedrock of literally any AI conversation, and that is the dataset. A dataset is just your entire collection of records. Honestly, think of it like a massive recipe book for your AI. It's organized into rows, which are the individual recipes or examples, and columns, which are your ingredients or features. Without this foundational layer, the absolute most advanced algorithms in the world have nothing to learn from. And the critical thing to remember here is that the quality, the size, and the diversity of this collection, that determines the absolute ceiling of your model's performance. It is the hard limit of what your AI can achieve. Now, for us in IT, the data plumbing of machine learning isn't some alien technology. It's actually built on the exact same JSON, CSV, and Parquet formats you're already managing every single day. You use these formats in your daily ops, and they seamlessly bridge into ML as the exact same dataset formats that data scientists rely on. Sure, you're going to see a few specialized formats in the ML world, like TF record or HDF5, but the underlying concept, completely identical. And what's really fascinating is that before AI ever touches your proprietary enterprise data, it goes to school on these massive standardized public datasets. For instance, if an AI is reading handwriting, it almost certainly cut its teeth on MNIST. Working with an image recognition model, it probably started by learning from ImageNet or Coco. And here's a fun fact. Text models trained on the Common Crawl dataset are literally digesting petabytes of the open internet just to learn human language. These public collections really provide the baseline worldview for modern AI. Okay, Section 3, Features as Database Columns. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now that we've got our container, we need to examine the individual variables inside it. In ML jargon, a feature is simply an input variable that the model considers when it's making a decision. It's an individual measurable property. So say your data set is a giant spreadsheet of houses. The features would be things like the square footage, the number of bedrooms, or the zip code. You know, the exact clues that help the model guess the final price of the house. The crucial takeaway here, the real IT bridge, is that features are exactly the same thing as columns in a database table. Let's say you're building a model to predict server downtime. Well, your features would be metrics like CPU usage, memory utilization, disk I/O, uptime days, maybe error log counts. Each column in your database serves as a specific feature that the model weighs to forecast a potential hardware or software failure. Moving on to Section 4, the art of engineering, where we refine those inputs. Because look, having features is one thing, but making them actually useful, that is where the real work happens. You can't just dump a pile of raw data into an algorithm and cross your fingers for a cohesive result. Feature engineering is honestly often the single most impactful step in any machine learning project. It's a lot like being a master chef. You don't just throw whole raw potatoes and unpeeled onions into a pot, right? You deliberately select, peel, chop, and transform the ingredients so they can be easily digested. In ML, you transform features so the machine can easily digest them and improve model performance. It's the intersection of human intuition and data science. Think of it like taking those messy, chaotic, raw server logs and deliberately shaping them into a clean, prioritized format that a mathematical model can actually read. You extract the noisy, unstructured data, then you transform it into structured, measurable metrics, and finally you prioritize those inputs. The end result is a really clean list of predictive features instead of just a random wall of text. Once everything is engineered, you rely on feature importance scores. These scores tell you exactly which inputs are driving the predictions and which ones are just noise. It helps you figure out, for example, if CPU usage is actually a better predictor of an outage than uptime days. It lets you practically trim the fat from your datasets, which saves you incredibly valuable compute power and drastically improves the model's accuracy. But this brings us to a major operational hurdle. What happens when your data set is simply too small to yield good results? Because in the real enterprise world, you don't always have millions of perfectly formatted records just sitting there ready to go. So what's the fix? Well, that takes us to our final topic, Section 5, expanding with data augmentation. When you don't have enough data, you've got to get creative. You can't exactly tell your boss to wait 6 months while you collect more logs or user interactions just to deploy a solution today. Data augmentation artificially expands your dataset by generating clever, modified copies of the data you already have. This expands the volume of your training material, improving the model's robustness and versatility, and you do it completely without collecting a single piece of new data. So instead of waiting around, you use these simple tricks. If you have an image, you flip it upside down, so the model learns the object is the same regardless of orientation. If you have text, you paraphrase it. You can even inject artificial noise into your data points. You're basically artificially injecting real-world messiness in a highly controlled way, which drastically improves a model's real-world resilience. If I'm going to repeat one thing over and over, it's this: data quality equals model quality. No matter how advanced your system is, an algorithm's intelligence is strictly capped by the quality of its data. There is literally no magical hyperparameter or neural network architecture out there that can compensate for garbage data. Data quality dictates model quality every single time. So, before we explore how this data is utilized for different learning approaches in part 3 of this series, I want you to ask yourself a somewhat provocative question about your own infrastructure. If your AI's intelligence is definitively capped by its dataset, how clean are the enterprise databases you are managing right now? Are they actually ready to fuel your company's machine learning ambitions? Or is it time for a massive cleanup effort? Think about that for a bit, and I'll see you in the next explainer.